another extraordinary person is the person you're about to meet. In fact, have to say that there's a certain theme here. Ruben De Silva, and I mean this only in the sense that we had an ex-military candidate on just a few minutes ago. And Ruben De Silva is another one with an extraordinary and rich and distinguished service to the military. I mean, it's quite extraordinary that that Ruben De Silva is a Purple Heart recipient and has, again, all of that distinguished service followed by a degree from Yale. Now, usually when people graduate from Yale or a lot of these Ivy League schools, they go into the hedge fund world, they go into any number of these huge, high-paying jobs. He turned down all the lucrative jobs, and he went back to Nevada, where he's from, and he became a high school teacher. That's right. He's, of course, a progressive candidate. Ruben De Silva, welcome to Rebel Headquarters.
Thank you for having me.
So, Ruben, first of all, you did push back against all that big money, and now even as an aspiring political player, you pushed back against big money.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I have. We've made it a commitment here with our campaign to make sure that it is 100% financed by small individual contributions. And again, I'm running against a corporate Democrat, Dina Titus, for this seat. And the fact that we are a 100% grassroots, individually sponsored campaign has actually caught fire. We've received over 600 contributions, the vast majority of which are from Nevada. And we are comparable with the incumbent congresswoman. And mind you, I'm a school teacher running against an incumbent congressperson. In the last quarter, she raised 29,000 in terms of individual contributions, and we raised 23. And we're incredibly proud of it because, again, this is a grassroots campaign that many folks did not believe was going to be competitive, but we are competitive, and now we're within striking range of winning this primary, and if so, winning this congressional district in November. It's a very Democratic district. I feel very confident that we can win this district in November.
I'm very excited, and you're exactly right about your opponent is an incumbent. He's a multimillionaire, and interestingly, she insisted that Donald Trump release his taxes, but did she release her taxes?
No, she hasn't, and I'm preparing to release my own taxes over here to show the world now that I'm a working class guy. I'm a school teacher, who makes 47,000. This year I made 51 because I worked a couple of extra sub services, when my colleagues weren't around, so I made a little bit more. But again, I'm a working class American running for Congress, and I think one of the big issues with the Democrats in particular is the amount of elitists who run for office, millionaires. They may even be, I don't know if this is true or not, more millionaires from the Democratic Party who run for office and hold office than they're working class people. They're supposed to be representing these working class folks. I think Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders really said it best, that if the Democratic Party is going to be successful moving forward into the 21st century, they need to start electing folks and electing representatives into office who are rooted in the realities of the people they represent, who can empathize with these individuals, who can empathize with their community, and not just try to sympathize with them being 5 or 6 or 7 steps removed.
I love your working class message because you, as I say, pushed away from big money after graduating Yale, and you went back to a working class education. I mean, it's hard to even make ends meet on a teacher's salary, and yet you embraced the teacher's salary and you've embraced the working man, and I mean working man generically, and you've reveled in that. In other words, you feel connected to that community. Has that resonated for you?
Oh, it always has. To me, it's always been about public service. Growing up, my mom and dad, and we were immigrants to this country. I was actually an undocumented immigrant for many years. It didn't have papers. Was always constantly, worried about La Migra deporting us. My mom actually did get a letter of intent to be deported from ICE back then.
Well, you came as a toddler, though, didn't you, Ruben?
I came as a toddler, yes. So back then, I have my papers now. I'm a citizen now, of course, but I would have been considered a dreamer back then. This is the 90s, and if you remember the 90s, there was a lot of hostility to us folks who are undocumented in this country, and there weren't even many Democrats who were supporting us. I remember writing to many folks who were in office at the time. My pops was, my dad did, and they said that they don't help illegal immigrants. It's something that, again, I have always remembered. And again, being somebody who comes from that background, somebody who's an individual now who was undocumented for so many years, immigration reform is, of course, going to be something very important to me. But it's, again, coming from that marginalized community, being a marginalized voice throughout my life. I felt that even though that I had the great blessing of going to Yale University, where I studied diplomacy with people like Tony Blair, who I had, back and forth with quite often, in a class, and Ambassador Ryan Crocker, who was the United States ambassador to Iraq while I was just a Lance Corporal there. To have the opportunity to study at a place like that. I got another master's degree from the University of Pennsylvania in global affairs, where I also was able to, again, get these 2 Ivy League degrees. And on the same token, to me, it was always about coming back to the place that raised you, to give back to the community where you're from. Oftentimes, many people receive great blessings, receive great opportunities, and then want to, charter their own course, go for the grand money or big money. But to me, it was always about giving back. And I feel very fulfilled, with the career that I've chosen. I teach high school at the school that I graduated from, Rancho High School. And I tell those kids, hey, look, this is an inner city school. It's a school with the majority minority population. It's a very, not just working class, but poor neighborhood. 89101, the zip code where I teach at, is the poorest zip code in the entire state of Nevada. And again, I tell those students, hey, look, I was one of you. I grew up in the same neighborhoods that you come from. My mom still stays down the street. I still stay down the street. And again, if I could do it, you could do it as well. And there's nothing, and I see the resonance that this has on a daily basis with my students. And again, it's always been the commitment to public service. When I came back from Yale, there were many establishment Democrats who were just yearning for the opportunity to mold me and bring me into the machine. This guy's a young immigrant. He's a brown man. He's a guy who worked himself from the hood to
Yale
University.
You could be the jewel of the mainstream if they see you as someone that could be a vessel for a lot of their agenda. But you pushed back on that.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was being groomed. I was being groomed by the establishment. And again, I've got a Purple Heart. I'm formerly an undocumented immigrant now who has a Purple Heart. I mean, take that, Donald Trump. I'm just saying, yeah. But again, I saw just the way that they were trying to control me, control the message, and just the connections to big money. It was all about flaunting these CEOs and these corporate America, and that's all I saw. I didn't see real working folks in any of these galas that I went to, these dinners and these luncheons. It was always the rich and the wealthy, and to me that was a problem. And to me, I saw, and I knew this for a while, but I saw firsthand just how fundamentally flawed the Democratic Party had become, and how important it was for people to actually stand up, working people, regular old folks, to stand up and to become a part of this this entire process.
Well, you are the future of the Democratic Party as a progressive, and you are the thing that represents the hope for the future. That which you've just described, the mainstream, that's not going to even win elections, and they've just gotten a huge dose of it in the last go-round. So they need to embrace guys like you. But I have to say, you're an outlier. You're an extraordinary, you're almost like a character out of a novel or a movie. I mean, your story is remarkable. I'm waiting for the Star-Spangled Banner to start playing behind you. It's that powerful. It's really quite epic. So my question is this: does that pushback against big money, does that wanting to get money out of politics? We've seen all the surveys, and in the main, people want it out. What I'm asking is, do you see that in your future potential constituency, and do you see it sufficiently that it might actually carry the day and win the election for you?
Oh, I know that it can. I'm looking at the poll numbers here. We went from single digits to double digits to a place now where we can actually win this election. And that's actually very heartening to me. I know we have an opportunity to make history this June. June 12th is our primary. If a guy like myself, who's a teacher, who's an individual now who's raised all of his money just from small individual contributions, many contributions, they're small, but they're many, and to actually beat in a primary now one of the most powerful establishment Democrats in this state, it will really send a message. And I think a message more so even hope more than anything, that it can be done and that it is possible. And I'm going to make it a point to empower other progressives like myself, other folks who are willing to stand up to big money, to stand up to the establishment, and to work to win these elections. I will support them wholeheartedly because I fundamentally believe that one of the biggest issues facing democracy today is the amount of special interest money, big money interest, corporate money in particular, that is really killing off our democracy. And I'm going to make it a point to start working within the system as a congressman to fight this systematic problem and to make America a more democratic, more people-based place again.
And I know on your agenda is a working wage, a fair wage, an increased wage for teachers who are orphaned by this system. It is a shame I mean, it is a national shame that our teachers are starving the way they are. I use starving, please, those who are going to quote me on social media, metaphorically, but honestly, it's a miserable wage, and I know that's one of your agenda items as well.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that you saw that and pointed that out. I guess I'm a teacher. You know, I really haven't seen a pay increase, a salary increase since I started teaching almost half a decade ago. This is my 5th year in the school district. And, you know, just recently here, the CCA, the Clark County Education Association, the union that I'm a member of, you know, they won an arbitration. And now immediately the school district is pushing back, saying that they pretty much don't want to raise teacher salaries. And fundamentally, we know that one of the most easiest ways of keeping teachers is by giving them maybe an annual increase or some sort of way of making their livelihood a bit stronger and a bit fairer and a bit more, you know, a higher wage essentially. And again, if we cannot do this, we're going to keep losing great teachers who, again, who have great opportunities elsewhere, who are going to be leaving the profession and be going other places. This is one of the reasons why I think the national average is about 3 years for a teacher, public school teacher. They work in very difficult environments. We work, I should say, in very difficult environments, oftentimes for livelihoods and wages that aren't sufficient. And we look for opportunities for our families.
Ruben De Silva, you're the real thing, and I want everyone who is in Nevada to take note. Ruben De Silva is the real thing, and in Nevada's 1st District, it's one of the places you can serve. You don't have to be in the 1st District to support Ruben De Silva, and you should go to the website for more information. It's DeSilvaForCongress.com. DeSilvaForCongress.com, and the other donation links and volunteer links are there as well. I think you're a remarkable guy with a remarkable story, but I want the story to end, or at least the next chapter of the story to be your victory in the congressional race. So good luck.
We're working hard to make it happen. Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for being here today.